I'd like to call the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners meeting of July 17th to order. Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Welker, Commissioner Vyers, Commissioner Pacharich, Commissioner Mee.
Here.
Commissioner Barrett.
Here.
President Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Fry is out of town on business.
Okay. Community input. I don't see anybody here. That's what want. Lori? Nothing? Come on.
Come on, Laura.
Okay. Let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
We have a couple of presentations.
Oh, I missed the presentations. Sorry, Parks and Athletics.
We have a presentation from Alex Desario, our Parks Plus Fitness Center manager. Alex?
Good evening, guys. I apologize for not giving the presentation last month, so better late than never, but some exciting stuff happening over at Parks Plus. Some of the numbers you're gonna hear today were ran on July 10th, so probably a little bit higher than we are right now, but just giving you some reference there. Our membership numbers are up to 2,203 as compared to 1,711 this time last year, so that's a good turn, about 500 members increase. Our current year-to-date visits were at 45,337 as compared to 36,980 from this time last year. So again, another steep increase. Our insurance-based monthly revenue continues to grow to new highs each month as insurance companies continue to open their pool of candidates that are allowed to use their Silver Sneakers, Renew Active, Silver and Active and Fit. We're seeing not just seniors utilize that perk of their insurance, but also middle-aged and honestly also teenagers and younger kids as well. Revenue's up over 29% from this time last year as well, which is fantastic. We are currently in our student promotion where we hit an all-time high in terms of our students. We have 67 that are currently under that membership regime. We're currently running an Olympic challenge, so basically it's in conjunction with the Olympics that are coming up. It's where they run 10,000 meters or 6.2 miles of cardio, and that can be on an elliptical, treadmill, whatever, that records that type of mileage for you. And if they hit that 6.2 miles or the 10,000 meters by the end of the month, they receive a prize and then also are entered in for a 3-month extension drawing for PPF. We started a falling prevention class, which had 6 participants. Basically, it's the notion of, for our older individuals, while they're at home, some of them may live by themselves, what to do in a scenario if they do fall, and also some strengthening exercises while at PPF to hopefully avoid falling. So we had 6 participants this past session, and we have 8 currently, so it's growing. We're working with a contractor to bring holistic health to Parks Plus Fitness in the Wheaton Park District. And for those who may not know what that is, it's basically the side of health that looks more into body and mind, things like sleep, stress, anxiety, so things that you can do to improve that side of your health. That'll be coming in January of 2025 as an offering for obviously Parks Plus Fitness members, but as well as anybody who's interested outside of Parks Plus Fitness. And then lastly, we're working on increasing our network opportunities. So some things that I've been involved with was the 4th of July parade. If you saw, I was on the back of my truck in the Uncle Sam costume on a bike. So people seem to like that. Spending some time over at the Mary Lebko Center, trying to integrate myself with their following over there and getting some of them come over to Parks Plus Fitness. And then also meeting and scheduling presentations, like I have one with the Chamber in August and one with Rotary in November. So those are some of the updates for Parks Plus Fitness. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Alex, do you want to address the recent reopening of our renovated locker rooms?
Of course, yeah. So as many of you probably know, we just opened our locker rooms, renovated locker rooms on Monday. It's great to see them actually utilized now, as previously they were pretty underutilized. A lot of positive comments. People love the steam room. It's a big new amenity for some of our members, so they're very happy about that. They love the way it looks, the grooming station, the lockers, all very positive feedback. As we go day by day, we adjust some of the things to make the services and other amenities that we have there a better experience for everyone.
Alex, I certainly enjoy the recovery room. Are you seeing an increased use of our massage chair?
Yeah, every month they tend to grow by anywhere between 10 to 15 members utilizing it. What we realized really quickly is it's you need to use it to see the value in it. So we've been offering members a 1 day or a one-time pass to try it out for free. Usually they look at how much we're charging for it and think it's a bargain, and they sign up 9 times out of 10. So right now we're at currently 116 recovery room add-on memberships, and we hope to see that grow.
$5 a month?
Not
60
bad,
bucks
right?
a year is not bad, man.
Hey, Alex, so I was there today and I saw the service guys were there working on the steam room. Did that get fixed and are they fully operational now?
Absolutely, fully operational now. Haven't heard of any other issues that have been going on. We had some bumps in the road, but as of 5:05, they're up and running right now.
So Mark turned them on and left them on?
Correct, yep.
After I left. All right, thanks.
Cool.
Keep up the good work, man.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Athletics.
We have Troy Clements from our athletic department, who has a brief presentation on fall programming and leagues. Troy, take it away.
Good evening. So my name is Troy Clements. I'm an athletic manager for the district, and my primary sport is soccer. So to give you guys a brief rundown on our fall athletics and what we're looking at. So we'll start off with Rams tackle football. So we have our Wheaton Bowl on Sunday, August 18th, and that's going to have about 80 teams joining us. And that is going to be a jamboree style set of games at Graff and Wheaton Warrenville South High School. So that just means we're going to have a lot of games going on at one time, try to get all 80 teams enough games in. For the Rams tackle season, that kicks off the first home games on Saturday, August 25th. We expect to have 19 teams with 355 kids registered, and that's up 37 from last year at this time. And then moving to Rams flag football, we have our evaluations scheduled for Thursday, July 25th, and Monday, July 29th, with the league kicking off on Saturday, August 17th. And they are also up at 310 participants versus 302 last year. And that is, we're up 310, that's up 23 participants from last year. Moving on to Rams cheerleading, they officially started their season in May, and we're at 198 athletes with 10 total squads, we're up 9 participants from last year. For fall baseball and softball, our evaluations are scheduled for this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday, the 23rd and 24th of July. And the league is going to kick off on Saturday, August 10th, and there are 174 participants signed up. For fall soccer, the season practices begin on August 5th with games starting on August 17th. And there are 918 participants signed up so far. And with a couple more weeks of registration, we'll easily get over 1,000 participants for the fall season for soccer. And for Wheaton United, tryouts were done in April and May to form the teams for the 2024-2025 season beginning in August. 53 teams were formed with 650 players on them. Last season, there were only 45 teams with 540 players. And even 3 years ago, the 2021-2022 season, there were 15 teams total with 170 players. So over the past 3 years, we have grown by 38 teams and 480 players.
Wow.
So that's all I have for our sports. Do I have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
With such a great increase in the number of participants and the number of teams, has it been difficult at all to find coaches for those teams?
So we're actually very fortunate. Our club director, Rudy Keller, he has done a great job with recruiting coaches for the travel program. So we don't have a problem with getting any coaches. We consistently have all of our head coach slots filled, and as well as assistant coaches.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. Where do we play when you're at Wheaton, Warrenville South? Do they let you play on the big field, or are you on just one of the?
Play on the turf field? Yep, we play on the turf field.
Okay. They didn't used to let us do that.
I have a question. I see you have an intern with you. Is Andrew Derwent behaving himself this summer, or
Yeah.
no?
You know, we got to keep him in line a couple times, but he's doing pretty good well.
You did that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It sounds like we've had a huge increase in use. Do we have enough fields to accommodate all of our programs between flag, tackle, soccer, How's that look?
So we do have a lot of requests for field space, as you have mentioned. So far, we've done a great job, and the sports themselves have done a great job with interacting with each other and making sure that everybody's getting enough field space for them to share the fields, everybody gets enough practice times, et cetera.
Perfect. And has this really changed any increase in cost for like field maintenance or no impact?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Just a comment, thanks for bringing up Rudy Keller's name. Rudy gets a shout out for, handling his field of honor and all the work that went into the 2,000 flags, all the, ceremonial stuff that went each night, and also the takedown. I mean, I got to be a part of both, both the erection and the takedown, and also with the ceremonial events. I mean, it gets better every year. Thanks to Rudy.
All right. Anybody have anything else? Linda?
I just want to add that I appreciate in the annual report how there's information of the 2023 year in review and what's new for 2024. So, because obviously we're in the middle of the year, so it's really nice to see that instead of having to wait till next year at this time for the 2024. So whoever decided to do that, thank you, because I thought it was very helpful.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I will move to approve the consent agenda, items A through E, starting with A, approval of the disbursements totaling $2,118,586.31 for the period beginning June 12, 2024 and ending July 9, 2024. B, approval of the disbursements totaling $680,844.67 for the period beginning June 12, 2024 and ending July 9, 2024. C, approval of the board meeting minutes of June 19, 2024. D, approval of the subcommittee meeting minutes of July 10, 2024. And finally, E, approval of the amended 2024 subcommittee meeting schedule.
Second.
Got a motion by me, a second by Pacharich. Any questions or comments? Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Welker?
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacharich?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Moving on to new business, ordinance number 2024-05. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 2024-05, approving the terms and authorizing the execution of the First Amendment to funding and reimbursement agreement for the purchase and installation of an additional playground and picnic shelter for the Sensory Garden Playground between the Wheaton Park District and the Play for All Playground and Garden Foundation.
Second.
Got a motion by Vyers and a second by Barrett. Any questions or comments? Mike, can you explain, for anybody who doesn't know what we're doing here?
Certainly. As you'll recall, we have had now a 10-year relationship with the Play for All Sensory Garden and Playground Foundation, where through their fundraising efforts, we continue to develop the Sensory Garden Playground on property that the Park District has on long-term lease from the DuPage Forest Preserve District, essentially at Navistar Drive and Naperville Road, actually situated in Lisle, but part of our park system's responsibilities. At any rate, recently the foundation had raised enough money to undertake the construction of a 5 to 12-year-old playground to complement the other assets that have been put in place over the last 10 years, which includes an accessible treehouse, a 2 to 5-year-old playground facility, numerous swings, and numerous other amenities, all designed specifically to bring disabled and non-disabled kids together on a level playing field for enjoyment and growth. When we signed the last donation and reimbursement agreement with the Play for All Foundation, and as you recall, they donate the money, we install the asset, and it becomes the property of the Wheaton Park District. We had a $600,000 worth of assets scheduled to be installed this fall. When we went out to bid for the unitary surfacing for the 5 to 12-year-old playground, we added the unitary surfacing for an adjacent previously installed amenity, which was the swing sets, which currently have engineered wood fiber as their surface, which is, when properly maintained, a perfectly acceptable surface for ADA compliance. The unitary surface provides a more universal and less requirement of maintenance to maintain that accessibility. So taking advantage of the mobilization of the company that will install the unitary surface under the playground. We sought a price to install them under the swings. The price came in very favorably. So with the fact that the Sensory Play for All Foundation has sufficient funds both in hand through philanthropic efforts as well as in pledges, we approached them about increasing the amount of the donation for this particular project to wrap up the the unitary surface under the swing sets into the project and deepen the dollar value there. They were, of course, agreeable, and we just require this amendment to our existing funding and reimbursement agreement. That's what you have in front of you today.
Anybody have any questions? Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacharich?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
Commissioner Welker?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. We'll move on to new business item number 2, a change order to Utility Dynamics for the work at Central Athletic Center.
I move to approve change order 1 from Utility Dynamics Corp. for the Central Athletic Complex Field number 31 lighting project.
Second.
So we had a motion by Pacharich and a second by me. The only comment I'll make on this is this change order is for what's called a differing site condition. They ran into some obstructions when they were trying to excavate there. We ran into that when we were putting the sewer lines in, when we were developing Central. It seems like people had collapsed a lot of debris into that area. And I did look through the pricing and I found it to be fair. And Rob, when the subs ask you what's a proper breakdown, it's what you got here is what I'm usually looking for when we're reviewing these. So you could use this as an example to the guys who don't know how to do one. But, I think the pricing was fine. And all right. Anybody have any other questions? No. All right, Mike, take the roll, please.
For the small change order, we can simply do a voice
vote.
vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Next, equipment purchase.
I move to approve the purchase of a 2024 Vermeer S925TX mini skid steer with bucket from Vermeer Midwest in the amount of $38,798 through the Sourcewell pricing program.
Second.
So a motion by Vyers and a second by Barrett. Anybody have any questions or comments for Rob? Mike, take the roll.
Certainly. Commissioner Pacharich?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
Commissioner Welker?
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Next item is another piece of equipment purchase. We need a motion.
I'd move to replace truck number 1103 in 2024 at a cost of $70,000 and delay the previously approved replacement truck number 1112 to 2025. As additional information, we as a park board approved the replacement of truck 1112 in March of 2024 for $69,538. And truck number 1103 will take its place in replacement priority.
So a motion by me. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Barrett. Anybody have any questions or comments? Nope. Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
Commissioner Welker?
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacharich?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Next item of new business, Resolution 2024-04.
I'd like to move to approve Resolution 2024-04, providing for the destruction of particular verbatim recordings of closed session minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Barrett and a second by Vyers. Anybody have any questions? Mike, do you want to explain the process a little bit on that?
Sure. The state law allows for approved and still remain closed session minutes to have the verbatim recordings destroyed as long as they're older than 18 months at this meeting or at the current time when you take that action. So this is simply a piece of housekeeping to accomplish that task as allowed for by the law.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Barrett?
Yes.
Commissioner Welker? Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacharich?
Yes.
Commissioner Me? President Kelly?
Yes. Reports from staff. Mike, anything from you?
One item, I simply want to congratulate and thank and wish well Matthew Roble, who has made a decision, a career decision, to leave the Wheaton Park District to join the Bolingbrook Park District as their new facility manager. This is a significant step up in responsibility for Matthew. He has done an excellent job in both of our recreation departments and our athletic departments over the last nearly 11 years, I believe. He is really, Matt Roble has been synonymous with our pickleball program, and more recently has taken on the responsibility of our Rams football and cheer program, as well as a number of other programs. It's not going to seem like the Wheaton Park District Athletics Department without you, buddy, but you've done a great job, and I know we'll stay in touch, and
congratulate you on your career success. And maybe someday we bring you back here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good job, man.
Thank you so much.
Congrats, man.
Congrats from me, Matt, you traitor.
Mike, is that for you?
That's it for me.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the athletics report?
I'd like to make at least a couple brief ones, and, Commissioner Pacharich mentioned some, but I just want to say it was an excellent annual report. What I thought was really helpful was the year in review page, including the participation numbers and the revenue increases. And, I think that information says it all, in that report. But as I think Linda just mentioned, the page is devoted to the individual program reviews for 2023 and what's being introduced as new for 2024. Very helpful. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Terry. Anybody else on the athletics report? All right, now I'm just going to move to regular reports. We'll start down at the end. Angie, do you have anything?
I do not, thank you.
John?
Yeah, I have a comment and then kind of a question I want to direct towards Mike. One of the things that we do in each of our individual funds, and the Park District in our finances has a number of funds, there's 6 or 8 of them, and we allocate tax dollars to each of those funds. And then within the funds, we do hold what we would call a fund reserve. Those are funds in excess of what we plan on spending this year. It's just kind of an emergency reserve. It came extremely helpful during the COVID years when we were refunding all of our participation fees that had to be refunded just because the whole Park District was shut down for a matter of months. So it's just kind of a wise thing to do, just like somebody has an emergency fund in their own household budget. We do have targets for those fund reserves, and in the reports you'll see for the period ending June 2024, we're over most of those targets. That's been persistent since COVID years when we stopped sweeping to capital. But I do know we've got a plan to kind of get back to target, and so I thought I'd ask Mike to kind of elucidate on how we're going to go about doing that.
Sure. Thanks, Commissioner Vyers. To be clear, on your June financial report, your fund balance targets all look very far in excess of the maximum target, which is allowed for or called for by our fund balance reserve policy and cash and investment policy. The reason they are higher than they would normally look at the end of the year or as a budget proposed number is because these numbers are reflective of our expenses through and revenues through June, through 6 months of our annual fiscal cycle. So if you take a look at the actual where we expect to be at the end of 2024, in short, at the end of 2024, all of our funds will be either just at maximum or be within the wheelhouse of the minimum to maximum range. And let me explain how it is that we go about doing that. The Park District maintains a long-term capital asset replacement program that is reviewed by the Park Board on an annual basis. And what does that mean? That means for every piece of equipment, for every asset, a piece of our infrastructure that we own that has a lifespan, we know that lifespan and we chart that out. In this case, we have a report currently through 2039, so 15 years of expected expenditures if everything breaks or needs to be replaced
on schedule. We obviously play with it as years go by, and the goal is to make sure that we don't, while maintaining our commitment to not defer maintenance through the Park District's infrastructure, the goal is to make sure that we spread out those expenses of the asset replacement in such a way that doesn't create a glut or an over need to expend in any one particular fiscal year. And as an example, of why we hold dollars in reserve as well as kick revenue over expense for our major operating funds to that capital fund project, capital fund, just to be illustrative, in the next 15 years with all of the, and separate Arrowhead from this equation, there's $30 million of asset replacement on our books for as a planned item for the next 15 years. So that we have a big infrastructure, it requires investment to make sure that we're not deferring maintenance and kicking the can down the road, as it were, for future boards and future staff to wrestle with how it is we're going to maintain our infrastructure. We do it on an ongoing basis. And fortunately, we have the revenue sources in the form of our property tax levies, as well as our fees generated through fees and charges and programming, as we've heard a lot about today, to be able to do just that. So at the end of every fiscal year, using the two major operating funds as an example, your corporate fund and your recreation fund, your corporate fund is about a $6 million a year fund all in, and your recreation fund is about a $12 million fund all in. And on a typical year, the way things have been going in just call it over the last 4 or 5 years, we're typically netting anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million in the corporate fund, revenue over expense, and $1 to $3 million, depending on a couple of variables in the recreation levy. So what do we do? What do we do with that overage? We make sure that our fund balance reserve targets are met for that rainy day. And as to be clear, the corporate minimum and maximum is 3 to 6 months of operating expenditures. The recreation minimum and maximum range is 2 to 4 months, and the rest of them have, they're within that similar area. The lower range for the recreation department is because of the significant amount of non-tax revenue that is earned through that department's activities. So when we have revenue over expense, what happens is we design, as part of our budget development process, an amount of money that we are going to plan to transfer from the reserves of the corporate and recreation and the rest of these funds to the capital projects fund to do exactly what I talked about before, which was maintain our infrastructure, replace our equipment, and do so in a way that doesn't involve a heavy reliance on long-term debt or allowing things to go unfixed or unmaintained. We did pause during the pandemic. In 2020, we had our annual capital expenditure budget, depending on the size of the project we're undertaking and the replacements, or where the replacement schedule is anywhere from $2 to $8 million. We're on the higher side this year because we're finishing a major phase of a renovation of the community center, as well as some other larger projects. So we fund the capital projects fund with proceeds from primarily our bond proceeds that we roll on an annual basis, or in some cases when we will do a longer-term bond issue, which we have done in the past, and primarily revenue over expense from the corporate and recreation levies. We execute those transfers on a quarterly basis throughout each fiscal year, which is why you're not going to see, until the end of the year, you're not going to see these funds that you referenced fall within that range of minimum to maximum. They're going to look inflated at this juncture. We paused all capital expenditures in 2020 and 2021 because of the uncertainty related to the pandemic, and we paused those same transfers, which created an inflated look of our corporate and recreation fund balances. By the end of 2024, the dollars that are needed for capital projects and capital equipment replacement will be transferred on a quarterly basis to the capital projects fund, putting you back within compliance of your policy. For instance, this year we will transfer $900,000 in total out of the corporate fund to the capital projects fund, and $2 million from the recreation fund to the capital projects fund. And again, as another reminder, absent any major capital project,
For example, the community center renovation, 3 to 5 year program we're on right now, which will probably end up being a $6 to $7 million expenditure over 5 years. Another example of a major capital project is the Memorial Park renovation project. Another prior example of significant capital expenditures that we hold reserves for, which makes us less reliant on creating long-term debt. Would be the Central Athletic Complex, a complete renovation. Going back even further in time, the $10 million Northside Park renovation. That one was assisted with alternate revenue bonds that we used our both fund reserves to fund, as well as our annual debt service extension-based rollover bonds. So there's a lot going on at the Wheaton Park District. It takes money to make it happen. The tax levy and the fees and charges we charge all contribute towards making sure that we have a balanced program going forward that doesn't allow for a deferred maintenance, or in layman's terms, things falling apart.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Linda? Terry?
We're moving along so quickly. I've got a couple. I'm going to start off with recognizing our Wheaton United 2006 Academy girls team, who won the U.S. Youth Soccer Midwest Regional Championships. And the team has headed, or will head to, for the U.S. Youth Soccer National Championship in Florida in July. Have they gone down there yet? Are they headed down there? What's the deal? Do we know?
I don't think they've gone yet, right? Not yet, no. Okay.
What's the 2006? What's that represent?
So that's 2006, that's the birth year.
Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you for that. Spring lacrosse, we got a 5th and 6th grade lacrosse team that apparently is the West Suburban Conference champs. They only lost 1 game. Is that right? Pretty cool. Camp sports and sorts, those numbers are up this year, so we must be doing something right. CAC, the usage hours for the Central Athletic Complex are up, over last year, as is the attendance for Parks Plus, as Alex mentioned. Aquatics, the pools, the visits are up at each of our pools over 2023 numbers. So that's pretty cool. Golf rounds, those rounds to date are up significantly over the past 5 years. It continues to increase. Arrowhead Food and Beverage, we're still getting excellent reviews, of our staff, and the wedding accommodations, including the extra fireworks amenity that we offer. And I've been to one of those, and it's pretty significant. Cosley Uncorked, for those of us who were there recently, last week, it was well attended, well done, a very nice weather night too. So good work by staff again. And, the vendors that we had, they were all very friendly, and everybody was having a good time. Lubco Center, the activities continue to be popular and well attended. Anybody have any comments about Lubco Center stuff? Anybody? Nobody?
They're having fun. They're on the road. They're exercising. Their movement is medicine, and that's what they're doing.
Our leadership program has continued, and it's thriving, and it's being utilized even more so than last year. So, and then finally, our Cosley revenues for the year are up over the same period in 2023. So once again, people like Cosley, as we do. Thank you.
Bill?
Terry.
I have a couple of quick things. Mike, Rob, Steve, and I met with the contractor at Northside Park on the tennis courts. We met with the engineer and the testing lab, and it appears, with our fingers crossed, that the unsuitable soil problem may not be as big as you were originally told. We'll know more when we start excavating, but we did come up with some solutions to mitigate the, so you'll hear more from us once the contractor gets on site and gets started, but we are in a position to move quickly and make decisions so that the ground doesn't get worse from the rains and stuff like that, like it did the last time. We also got to tour the new entryway at Northside Park, and staff told us that that's working out really good, that the patrons like it. Did we get the same response with the new entryway at Rice Pool?
Yeah,
They really enjoy.
People, hardly anybody walks through the locker room anymore, do they? Correct. That was probably one of the better things we did was.
I took a walk through down there, John, a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago, and it's very efficient. How about that?
Yeah, I think so I think maybe the capital project that we were thinking on the locker room upgrades we might be able to scale that way back too, because hardly anybody's using it anymore. So might just be able to get away with some repairs instead of the second half of that project that we put off. So I'm glad to hear that all worked out. So I don't have anything else.
Thank you, sir.
I do have one question. I was just curious how things are working out using the new Blanchard building for the camps that hadn't been there previously.
Great. We have probably 500 campers enjoying that building this summer. It's working very well.
Great, thanks.
And are we looking at something to do with the building then for the winter, or?
We have a proposal to Mike because we know we're going to need that building when we move into the next phase of renovation at the community center for our preschool programs and for staff offices.
Perfect timing for relocating for a year.
Okay.
Did we have to do any kind of renovation in there before we started?
We did a bunch of cleaning.
A lot of general cleanup and painting. Yep, that's about it.
It really not in that bad of shape, so,
Yeah, I remember it was looking pretty good when we did a walkthrough.
yeah. Okay, great. I'm going to need a motion to go into closed session under items C and D. It should be a very short closed session, and I do not think we'll be coming out to make any decisions, so we just have to give you an update on something.
C and D,
C and D.
move to adjourn our regular meeting and move into closed session under purchase or lease of real property, 5 ILCS 120/2C5, and D, setting a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body under 5 ILCS 120/2C6.
Second.
So a motion by me, second by Vires. Mike, take the roll, please.
That was Pacharich.
Second by Pachard, sorry. You sound like John. No, I'm just kidding.
Commissioner Welker. Commissioner Byers. Commissioner Pacharich.
Yes.
Commissioner Meade. Commissioner Barrett.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Thanks for coming, guys. Hope we didn't keep you too long.
Nice job, team.